Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast, episode number 64. I spent years building my interior design business trying to do all the things: the marketing, the networking, the free content, spending thousands of dollars on training and education, only to see minimal growth. After years of frustration, I finally started to ask, what am I missing? I had the systems in place for powerful growth. I had amazing clients. I had determination, drive, and commitment to spare. And yet, I wasn't seeing the success I desired. What if business is not about the doing? What if building a powerful business requires both powerful systems and something else, something deeper? I'm Amy Van Meel, and I'm on a journey to discover that something else. If you are ready to build a powerful business and do it knowing that your success is inevitable, join me as I share both the powerful systems I know work and my lessons and revelations as I discover that something deeper. Welcome, Changemaker, to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. Well, hey there, Changemakers. Thanks so much for joining me again today. It's Amy here with you. I just came in from having my cup of coffee outside on the deck in the backyard, just soaking up the sun and all its goodness. So I feel super chill and really happy to be here with you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I wanted to talk today about transformation. It's been on my mind a lot the last few days in particular, but I'm always working on personal growth and transformation and everything. But what's really been on my mind, as I mentioned, I'm working on my relationship with money. And it's been a really interesting journey as I'm moving through, developing this new relationship with money and understanding what my relationship is currently with money and being mindful of the thoughts that I have about it, the emotions that I have about it. I guess that coffee left a little bit of a frog in my throat today. And so what I was thinking about today, I have been going nonstop for several weeks now between my full-time job and my two businesses. It's been go, go, go. On top of that, it's very busy at work, and there's been an opportunity to pick up some overtime, so I've been doing that as well. And yeah, I'm working all the time, every day. I work through the weekends and everything else right now. And there was an opportunity that opened up for me that was a blessing in disguise, if you would say so. Essentially, a project that I have been working on that had a very, very fast approaching deadline. Was asked about a week ago to put everything on hold. So I'm in a bit of a holding pattern, but I had planned 2 days, today and yesterday I had off, and I had planned these 2 days that I was going to be doing more work on this project because I knew we were on a tight timeline. And so when this suddenly came out of nowhere, I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Now, normally I would fill these days with something. I have another project that I'm working on, and of course I could record a whole bunch of podcast episodes and put a whole bunch out, which would probably be smart in some ways. But what I did instead actually was I recognized this as an opportunity for a break. I was becoming very short and feeling rather exasperated with people, with clients, less so through my business, but more so through my work, although it definitely spills out into my business as well. And I recognized that I had been going too hard and for too long, and that I really needed to give myself some time to just chill the fuck out, to be totally honest. So normally if I have days off during the week, which is what I have right now, if I have weekdays off, I'm still up at my usual time. I still get up at 6:30. I still, have breakfast with my guy in the morning. I do my workout, and I'm typically planning to do whatever the activity is by 9 o'clock, which is usually I'm getting to work. And in a very different break from what I normally do, I decided that I was going to treat these 2 days as if they were a weekend. Now, I still had a few things that still needed to be done. I still wanted to ensure that I got this podcast recorded. But other than that, I slept in. I think I slept in till both days I actually kind of laughed. I giggle when this happens a little bit because I normally get up at 6:30, and on my days off, I still wake up at 7. And it's like, well, that's not so much of a sleep in. But the beauty of it is I don't have to get out of bed. So both days I stayed in bed until about 8 o'clock, which is when my guy leaves for work. So I make sure I get up and give him a hug and, tell him I love him, send him off for the day, before I carry on doing kind of a whole bunch of nothing, which is what I had done yesterday and today. Yesterday, I think the only so-called, I'm air quoting here, task or activity that I did in the entire day was unloading the dishwasher. And that was at about 5:30 because I figured I couldn't very well have sent my guy off to work all day and not have at least unloaded the dishwasher. So I did that and I got dinner ready. But it was just beautiful. It was such a relaxing day. I watched a little bit of Netflix. I don't remember what I all did. I read a book. It was so nice. I have a chair in my living room that's just so delicious to sit in. And I've been reading through The Power of the Subconscious Mind again. If you haven't yet picked it up, I highly recommend it. And it's been just really delicious to just relax. And I did it again today. Now, here's what's so interesting, and this is why I want to talk about transformation today. Yesterday was the first day of this, my couple days off here and just relaxing. And I had this negative energy about me. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I wasn't sad, I wasn't mad, I wasn't angry, I wasn't frustrated, there wasn't anything that was particularly coming up for me. And I was like, okay, maybe I just need to give myself some time. Maybe this is just like energy coming off that I've been going for so hard and going for so long that it's just oozing off of me now. It's like it's finally washing out, right? Like if you think about an engine has oil that runs through it, and when the engine's running, the oil is constantly moving around it. But when the engine stops, the oil actually drains back into the oil reservoir, and that's kind of what it felt like. There's just this like stuff draining off of me. And that's when I really got to thinking about transformation and about my money relationship with money. I've been thinking a lot about my MasterCard in particular. Now, here is what is quite fascinating to me. I've been working on, I have a tracker sheet. I've been working on returning, I'm always trying to be very careful about the words I use, returning all the leveraged money that I have. So I've had some very exciting wins along the way. There are two lines on my spreadsheet that now say $0 because there were things that were paid off, and that's really exciting. It's super exciting to have that happen. And what I noticed, I would have these like incredible highs followed shortly after by these deep lows, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is not so fun. It kind of felt like what I was going through a couple years ago when I was just in this like dark place. And I knew that something was coming up and talking to me. And I had a moment with my MasterCard where I just had this intense worry about money for a few days. And that is not an abnormality. In my entire life, I don't know times that I've ever not been worried about money. But in the weeks prior to that was the first time in my life that I actually hadn't been worried about it. I have a full-time job with steady income. My guy has a full-time job with steady income. My businesses are doing all right. And so I realized, maybe about 4 weeks ago, wow, I'm not worried about money. The world is in chaos and everybody else is like kind of, scrambling. And for the first time in my life, I feel calm about it. And then all of a sudden this anxiety and this worry came up, and for days, and I was just like, and I was fearful again. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, about 4 days later or 3 days later, I realized exactly what was going on. There were some charges that had gone through that I had forgotten, hadn't put on my calendar. And so all of a sudden my MasterCard balance was way out of whack again. I'm like, oh, okay, this is why. And it took me down into a deep low again. So fast forward to this week, because this happened, I think about 2 weeks ago. Fast forward to this week, and I come off of this just intense few weeks of just working nonstop, all of the stuff, trying to manage my own energy, my own emotional frequencies, trying to be a good partner for my guy, trying to be a good resource for my clients and for clients who call in for my job. And all of a sudden I was just done. I just had nothing else left. And it was finally a moment to just relax and let things be and just allow myself to just be. In most of the day when I eat, I'll watch some Netflix or something, but for most of the day yesterday, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to watch anything. I wanted to be as virtually unplugged from technology as I could be, because I'm on technology all the time. And in this space, as all of this energy was sloughing off of me and my brain was now finally sort of free to process through some of this stuff that was going on, I realized that I have been focusing on money, but focusing on this MasterCard. And the question I've been asking around my MasterCard is, and I'm being very honest and transparent with you. This is not necessarily something that I would normally have a conversation about, but I want to be honest with you guys, because I think that through my journey of transformation, you can learn as well. So I'm trusting that you're just going to hold space as we go through this, and hopefully that what I share today will help shed some light into your life as well. Maybe your struggle is with something different, but I'm hoping that this will shed some light for you. So back to my MasterCard, my MasterCard has been basically at like almost the fullest point it could be, and it bumps up into like an overdraft every now and again. Very rarely. This situation a couple weeks ago was one of those situations. But no matter how much I tried to reduce some costs and increase what I was putting on my MasterCard, it seemed to continuously be at this level. And so for the last 2 weeks or so, I've been thinking like, okay, Amy, there's obviously something here. You're getting something out of the fact that your MasterCard is at this high level. Why? Like, what is it? And I'm always thinking like, if I could just find that one thing, it's like the linchpin, right? I can find that one thing and then it'll be fixed. Then I can address it and I can heal it and boom, everything will be fixed. And MasterCard will just be paid off and like my life will be roses and cherry bombs from there on in. And I realized yesterday that as this energy was coming off and I was really thinking about this transformation, that I might be focusing on the wrong thing. And some of you might be nodding your head like, yeah, Amy, you've been focusing on the wrong thing. But the truth is, I hadn't been focusing on the MasterCard with stress. I hadn't been going like, I hate that this always has a balance. I hate that I haven't paid this off. I hate. I hadn't been thinking that. But I had been thinking about it analytically, saying, okay, there's obviously a reason that I am still generating this balance on this MasterCard, because as I start to bring awareness around my relationship with money throughout the years, I realized that every time in my life I would have this financial abundance, and I'd move to think about it like a financial point of zero, a neutrality, where I didn't have a lot of debt or anything going on, but something would happen, and it would always be some random, like something I never thought about, hadn't seen coming, whatever, but it would always keep me into the same place. And so understanding this, I was like, okay, there's something happening here. Now, at the same time, and this is why it's so good to observe yourself while you're just doing your day-to-day things. There's an account on Instagram that something Kinsley, I think. I can't remember what it's called, but they have this beautiful jewelry. And I just started following them a couple weeks ago. And of course, they have like lots of paid ads and stuff, which is totally fine. But they're very much in front of me on the very rare times that I am scrolling through Instagram. And every single post that I see is something that I'm like, oh, that would be beautiful. I would love to have that. Now, here's what was so interesting to me. I noticed yesterday, as I happened to be on Instagram for a moment, one of these posts came up, and the desire to purchase a product was so intense in me. And the logical part of my brain was saying, Amy, we have financial goals that we're working towards. Let's not purchase anything right now. We don't need this. We're working from home, and a little bit later, I'm like, it's because a lot of it was bracelets that I was looking at, which are beautiful. Amy, you can't wear a bracelet at work because it would always be, scratching on your laptop or clunking around, and you don't wear jewelry really at home. So this is not really a logical purchase right now. But this desire to buy something was so intense. And it got me thinking about this transformation. I have been, thinking about like what is it that I'm holding on to around the MasterCard balance, and feeling very much like there are other things that are still on my financial spreadsheet that are still to be paid off. But they're regularly, in most cases, they have payment plans, so they're regularly coming down. So I feel less stressed about them. Like a credit card, I always find is one of the more frustrating of the financial tools that we have, because even if it gets all paid off, it could still go back up again, right? So it's like, ugh, I can't seem to win with this. And so I was thinking a lot about this, and I realized, okay, there's something here, but I keep focusing on, what's this linchpin? And suddenly I got to thinking, as I was reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind, that I've been approaching it a little bit, not wrong, not backwards, but in a very like singular fashion. I have been focusing on like, if only I can figure out why it's so important to me to have this credit card balance, then I could just make it go away. And of course, I don't have the insight yet. It hasn't come to me. I am absolutely 100% certain that that insight is going to come to me at some point, probably well past when I've fully paid it off and I've moved into a whole different financial reality. There will be some awareness that comes around that I'll all of a sudden go, oh, that's what that was. That's why I was so hung up on it. But in the meantime, if I'm not gaining that awareness right now, super important to still be leaning into transformation. So I want to encourage you, if there's something that you're working on in your life right now that you are practicing transformation around, that you're wanting to improve or increase or whatever it is, how, maybe you want to remove something from your life. Now, here's the really funny thing. I would like to remove the balance on my credit card. But the longer that I focus on the balance on my credit card, the more likely I'm going to keep the balance on my credit card. Because what you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on something that you don't want to have, it's going to keep coming because that's the energy you're putting out there. And it sounds super confusing. And I remember, and I still find it confusing at times, where it's like, but I don't want this. And so this is why I've been reading through The Power of the Subconscious Mind again, and I'll probably read through it several more times after this time. But basically, our subconscious cannot determine, it does not hear positive or negative. It only hears what you say, but it does not hear the negative things. So if I keep thinking all day long, I wish I could get rid of this balance on my credit card, then all my subconscious keeps hearing is keep the balance on the credit card. Obviously, it's very important to her, so we better keep making sure it stays. Whereas when I finally started to have this time to allow, again, this energy to come off and to just be and be in a place of observance, which is such a powerful place to be. It feels, if you're a doer like I am, being in a place of observance feels very much like you're not doing anything. However, you're actually doing some of the most important work you could possibly do. If you ever watch, I love to watch everything. I'm not a huge fan of bugs, but if you ever watch bugs or birds or animals or whatever moving around and just watch them do things, it's so fascinating to watch them, right? Like we have lots of jackrabbits in around our neighborhood, and I always find them so funny. You could be walking on the sidewalk and they'll on the other side of the street, you're not going anywhere near them, and they panic and they run away. And they keep running away. And this happened. My guy and I were out for a walk a couple days ago, and we were just giggling about this. Like, they were not going anywhere near. If you would just sit still, we'll walk by you and you can carry on your merry way. But this rabbit was determined that we were going to like harm it or whatever. But what's fascinating is you get to observe right? We have this opportunity to observe how another being on the planet moves and interacts. And so it's fascinating because it's so beyond us in some ways, but this is what I'm talking about for our own selves. When you can observe yourself going through, certain emotions or certain actions or certain habits. When you can identify a habit that you're having, it is so freaking powerful, you guys. I shared this a few episodes back. I don't remember exactly, but I shared a few episodes back about bringing observance around the snacks that I was eating. Realizing that I never ate a ton of snacks. That's not true. When I was a kid, I ate a ton of snacks. When I was in this process of observance a little while ago, I was not eating a ton of snacks, but the days were stressful, and there seemed to be a key point in the day, usually right around 3 or 4 o'clock, because when I'm at work, I work until 7. So right around 3 or 4 o'clock, that I would be like, ugh, I just want to go have a snack. I'm just going to go have some candy. And so I might only have 4 or 5 pieces, but it was still 4 or 5 pieces. And I recognize that, I have goals for my body and fitness goals that I'd like to achieve. And I realize I know, again, the logical part of my brain says, well, Amy, if we want to, look like that, then we can't be eating this. But that's not super helpful, right? It doesn't address, throwing some guilt on top of it does not make the desire for having that candy go away. It only makes things worse. Am I right? I'm sure that you're nodding your head right now. But what I did start to do was I started to just observe what I was feeling, what I was thinking, what was going through my mind when I wanted to go get that candy. I did not stop myself from going to get that candy because there was still a desire to have it. But now what I did was I just paid attention. That's it. And as I was eating the candy or a handful of chips or whatever it was, I would just be wondering I'm getting something out of this. I wonder what it is that I'm getting out of this. And here's this part still blows my mind. After a couple of weeks, I don't even know if it's that long, but after a bit of time, I stopped having a desire for having that candy. I didn't have a desire to go in and grab that handful of chips. It wasn't that I had told myself, no, this is bad. I was like, well, I didn't even think about it. That's the thing that blows my mind, is that I hadn't tried to bully myself into it. I hadn't tried to use my willpower to make it go away. I hadn't done any of those things that, we're all taught to do. I hadn't journaled about the food that I eat. God forbid I have to write down everything that I eat. I never did any of those things. All I did was observe myself when I was in that moment. And so that's what I'm talking about with our transformation. Transformation without a coach can be really difficult. If you have the financial resources for a coach, I highly recommend that you reach out to someone, because it's so good to have that guidance as you're moving through it. I recently, I've talked about my coach many times on the podcast. I've recently finished the coaching package that I had with my coach, and I will definitely come back and work with her again. But I also let her know, we've been working on this financial trajectory, and I need to honor the agreement that I made with myself, that I am not signing up for anything new financially until I address all of this money that is leveraged to others. And so she understands that, and she respects that, and she's super excited for when I do come back, and I'm super excited for when I do come back. But that does mean that at the moment I feel a little bit adrift because I don't have that coach that I'm working with all the time. I still know that she's holding space for me. I know that she supports me 100%. We have a plan in place in case the world blew up and I needed some coaching that I could. There's, resources for me to access. But again, in being respectful of the decision and the agreement that I made with myself, I'm not engaged in coaching right now. But that does mean that as I'm moving through this right now, as I feel this transformation, I can feel that I'm in this moment of process. And I want to touch on the process real quick here. This is something that my coach worked with me a lot right from the start. It took months before it really started to take hold. The idea and acceptance of being in process. I want to say okayness, but that's not really a word. The acceptance of being in process. It is something that I pushed against hard when we first started coaching. And I would say the words like, I allow myself to be in process. And, and my coach would be like, okay, well, when you really finally get it, it'll be different, but it's okay. We work on it. And so when I did finally get it, I'm like, oh my God, now I totally understand what you mean. It's like night and day different. I'm touching on this because a couple of weeks ago, right around this whole time that everything blew up with the credit card, I'm feeling all this emotion and key point here, kind of ignoring it in a way, actually. There was a moment in a meditation one morning that I realized I am struggling against myself. I am pushing against myself. I need to move back into a place of allowing myself to be in process, because that is where I am right now. I am in process. I'm in the process of transformation. And the more I keep trying to push against it, it's like struggling when you're drowning. It's only going to get worse. And eventually you exhaust yourself and nothing has gotten any better, because that's not how transformation happens. And again, for those of us who are doers, transformation can seem like and I think that it's true for anybody, that it's one of the hardest things in the world. But a lot of transformation work comes from allowing things to happen, allowing emotions to arise, allowing, events and energy to move through you. Being aware of what those things are going on, not reacting to them, but being aware of them and then responding to them from a higher place versus reacting against them from, your old habits, your old patterns, your old stories. So as soon as I moved from that moment of like, ugh, I just want to make this go away, to, oh my gosh, Amy, you're in process. You need to just chill the fuck out and be okay with being in process. It was like flipping a switch. It was literally before I stepped into my meditation, I was feeling all the stress. And then I went into this meditation and I had this recognition and I went, okay, I allow myself to be in process. I'm in process right now. I allow myself to be in process. And then boof, when the meditation was over, I'm like, that's okay. Okay, did it fix anything? It didn't fix a thing. Like, the reality of my life hadn't changed. I still had all the same challenges and struggles and things going on before I had stepped into the meditation, but I now recognize that I was in a moment of process, and allowing myself to be there made a world of difference, and it allows awareness to come through. And so this moment of transformation, as we're moving through it, if you're really pushing against it and you're like, oh, Amy, I'm doing all the things, I'm saying the affirmations and I'm doing the meditations and I'm doing the breath work and everything else, and it just doesn't seem to be working, you are struggling against the process. So I would encourage you to take a couple of deep breaths and allow yourself to be in process, because as you move through that process, transformation will happen. But pushing against it is like trying to push a square rock up a mountain. It's really hard, and you probably won't get very far. So I want to leave you with that for this week. I trust that you are staying healthy and staying safe and hopefully staying occupied. As I mentioned, I'm in a moment of transformation, which is happening not just on an inner level, but also on a external level in both of my businesses right now. So you may or not have noticed, I'm removing the call to the to the launch pad at the end of the podcast because my business is also in process and a little bit of transformation right now. So I will stay with you here on the podcasts. I did have a moment where I thought about maybe just pausing the podcasts for, a couple weeks or even a couple months to allow myself to just fully step out of things for a moment and gain some perspective. But I really enjoy sitting down with you guys, and I trust that you enjoy hanging out with me. And if you don't, you probably wouldn't listen. So if you're hearing this, you're probably getting something out of it. So thanks for hanging with me. But yeah, for now, I'm pulling back on offers. Because I'm just in a place of transformation in myself and in my businesses. And I will keep you posted as things start to open back up again. I wish you a phenomenal week ahead. And if we aren't friends yet on Instagram, please follow me at I Dare to Begin on Instagram. And if you have any questions or any topics you'd like me to cover on a future podcast episode, please DM me on Instagram or send me an email, amy@daretobegin.net. And I just want to send you a great, big, totally safe, completely kosher, filled with the most loving energy possible hug through this podcast. You will not catch anything from this hug other than love and joy and peace. So, from me to you, have a wonderful rest of your week.